Sup, you chuckle fucks? It's your boy Dark Raku here with What If Issei Had a Karma Seal Part 2. Now, I would have done this a little bit earlier ago, but you see here, I was kind of tired, so yeah. I fell asleep. Okay. Not just the point I fell asleep, also it's basically my siblings were outside and being annoying as fuck. But not the point. So, I really gotta make a schedule. Not the point. Maybe I should do a schedule or maybe not. I know some YouTubers do kind of, or mostly What If YouTubers, probably like what's it called? Well, I don't think that many YouTubers do go onto schedules like they do have. I have seen a couple, but I think they all just give up on the schedule. But yeah, so I'm not gonna do a schedule. It's just gonna be upload whenever I have time. Okay, whenever I have time and able to do a what if for either like 20. Either 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You get the point. An hour, hour 2, or something. A what if, I will upload it. It'll be whenever the fuck it will be. Also, I don't know if I can actually go up to 7 hours on a, what's it called, what if. I am not Anime E. Also, if you don't know who Anime E was, mostly a person that I got inspired to do mostly what ifs. Mostly it was first Naruto what ifs, and then it was just anything that caught my interest in. Mostly had ideas, but not the point. Well, see, he did a what if for 7 hours. It was basically a what if called What If Naruto Was Lucifer, and it was for 7 hours. And I watched about like 6 hours until I think he deleted the what if. I think he doesn't even do what ifs in the first place. I think he already gave up and other stuff, but not the point. So still sad, and I remember him coming back, but I think he just went back. I don't know. But whatever. I'm rambling on right now. So, let me begin this what if. I know I'm just rambling the fuck on, and let's just begin, okay? We go into mostly someone just kind of, mostly having his eyes closed. He's right now kind of sleeping in mostly his, ragged, kind of, cut, ripped clothes from last night. But that's not the point here or there. You would expect that he was in a battle. Which he was. He was literally in a battle to the death between a creature, or mostly something that was called the World Fragment Tree, but not the point. But you can also call it the Jinchuriki. But this is where, he was right now, this person's right now sleeping. This is where, someone knocks at his door, and this is where it's like an older type of man who kind of just knocks at his door saying, young master, wake up. It's kind of school today. This is where, the boy seems to be not wanting to wake up, and doesn't work. He kind of says, Alfred, 5 more minutes. I'm so tired. Sir, you do realize it's almost time for school. You're going to be extremely late if you don't actually hurry up. This work. We'll see. This person says, it's fine, Alfred. You can just call them and say I'm sick. This work. Mostly the person now known as Alfred kind of says, Sir, how will your grandmother kind of expect you to kind of, mostly, he had it to kind of do the kind of card, because there's multiple ways to kind of get this, mostly the young master to wake up. It's mostly either kind of playing the grandma card, or mostly just giving him, what's called, how to become smarter card, but not the point. This is where, mostly he say, how will your grandmother feel if she knew that you missed 1 day of school? This is where, mostly the boy wakes up in an instant, Fine, Alfred, I'll be going. Also, make sure to wash off any of the blood and mostly change your ripped clothing. I know yesterday was a rough day, sir, but you're gonna have to kind of bear with the pain and destruction that you kind of did last night. Yes, I know, Alfred. Yes, I know. This is where, the person right now gets out of his bed. This is where, he notices there's blood on the sheets, and this is where he sighs and says, damn it, whatever. This is where, he gets towards mostly opening his door, going to the bathroom real fast, and washing up by just taking off his ripped, torn clothes. Mostly, he was wearing kind of a, mostly his clothes are basically a black button-up shirt underneath, mostly wearing a black kind of coat, kind of trench coat somewhat, black pants, and of course, these black kind of shoes. Mostly they're kind of boots, but not the point. This is where, he kind of takes off his entire mostly clothing and just decides to go into the shower. Now we go into about mostly 10 minutes later. This is where this person kind of gets down the showers. Of course, this is where almost out of the showers already, cleaning up and other things. He's wearing the school kind of uniform. This is where, well, he kind of has darkish brownish hair, but not the point. This is where his goldenish brown eyes are kind of like, well, still very tired. Mostly he's trying to not have them closed fully, but of course, the eyes really want to just fall asleep, mostly back again. But this is where, well, he just mostly is kind of going downstairs. He does grab his kind of book backpack, and this is where, well, he's getting downstairs. This is where, well, he's sighing and saying, ugh. So, Alfred, what is to eat in the morning? This is where, well, when he gets downstairs to the dining room, and this is where, well, mostly, this house is not a normal house. It's literally a mansion. He kind of lives in a mansion, but not the point. Mostly, his butler named Alfred kind of says, so, I already prepared dinner, or mostly not dinner, mostly breakfast. It is mostly French toast with a bit of, what's it called, syrup on top. And also some American breakfast with, what's it called? Fuck. I'm fucking this up so hard. Mostly, what's it called? With mostly scrambled eggs and, of course, mostly pancakes. Like 3, mostly like, okay, you can just get the point. Pancakes with also syrup on top. And there's also, well, your orange juice, young master. This is where, well, mostly the brownish hair boy does eat. And this is where, well, he looks at the time and winds his eyes and says, shit, gotta get to school. This is where he eats really fast. Of course, this is where he uses the juice to just like put all the kind of food down his throat. And this is where, well, he calculated, but this is where, well, he's actually going to be fine. This is where, well, Alfred kind of shook his head and says, you know, you had to slow down. You can easily get to your school quite fast if you use a bit of your, well, you know, chakra. This is where, well, we'll see. The brownish hair boy says, I'm fine, Alfred. I just gotta get over there just acting like a normal human. I'm not gonna try to rebuild any more chakra juice or any of that. So don't worry about it. And besides, you don't know where the other location is for the last kind of fragment of the tree, right? This is where, well, mostly Alfred shook his head and says, no, I have not heard or any news about anything. And also, mostly, well, your God Protector hasn't actually seen any of that neither. Or not God Protector, mostly the other person hasn't actually had notified any about that. This is where, well, or has notified any about mostly the last fragment. This is where, well, mostly the brownish hair boy sighs and says, I understand then. Well, I should be off, Alfred. This is where, well, Alfred nodded and says, I'll be cleaning your kind of bed sheets because I know it's already bloody and kind of dirty from last night. This is where, he says, chuckles and says, sorry about that. Don't worry, young master. Just get along to your school. Yes, this is where, well, he was about to leave until mostly Alfred threw his book backpack at him. And this is where the brownish hair boy managed to catch it. And of course just runs off. This is where, well, he closes the door behind him and just runs off in an instant. This is where, well, he's getting towards school in an instant, just kind of just running over there. This is where, well, he keeps kind of running until he was about to kind of like mostly, well, sent around trying to send for his friends until he noticed one person ahead. And this is where, well, that one person is none other than Morohama. And he's actually kind of being talked by mostly a red-haired beauty. This is where, well, the red-haired beauty kind of has kind of bluish and greenish eyes. This is where, well, Morohama is kind of having a little blush on his face, and he's just looking, trying to look at her chest, but mostly look away. But this is where, well, he noticed someone running towards him, and of course the red-haired girl managed to, well, not sense the person, but all she can actually see is this person grabbing Morohama from like the collar, and right now just rushing past and grabbing him, just running off. Yeah, this is none other than mostly just confusing for the red-haired beauty. Mostly the red-haired beauty was none other than Rhea Screamery, and she was about to ask mostly Morohama to join her barrage. Mostly talk about the supernatural, but mostly ask him to join her barrage. But he was just taking a while ago. Now, she was confused because the speed and just power and whoever just ran off and just took him was confusing. This is where, well, the first thing that pops into her head is literally like mostly in anime, and basically she just expected like some kind of Soul Reaper just appear and just grab him, just disappear in the flash zip. But yeah, now Morohama was thinking something else. He was thinking of like a superhero, like the Flash appearing, grabbing his shit and just running. Now of course when he managed to look up after mostly Morohama and the person stopped, Morohama looks up and sees none other than Issei. Issei, who has kind of brownish hair and of course his goldenish brown eyes, looking at, well, his kind of friend Murahama, who has blackish kind of short kind of hair, but not kind of cut all the way. But this is where, well, he has glasses. This is where his glasses are kind of falling off, and of course showing his kind of like darkish bluish eyes. So yeah, this is where, well, he does have kind of darkish bluish eyes. This is where, well, Murahama says, Issei? This is where Issei says, yo. This is where, well, mostly Murahama says, Issei, I want to talk to you about something. Oh yeah, we have only a couple of minutes before we get late to school. This is where Murahama says, wait, what? What do you mean? Shit, we gotta start booking it. This is where, well, Murahama starts running off, and this is where Issei chuckles and says, yeah, I know what you were gonna tell me. Issei thinks in his head, yep, he's going to ask about what happened last night. Let's just keep it down on the low. Should probably keep it down on the low. Two people agree with him, saying, yeah, you should probably do that. Instead of revealing about what you entirely are, since you're about like 75% well. Mostly Issei cuts off a voice and saying, oh, don't worry about it. I won't tell them anything. Besides, the devil was trying to get my friend into the barrage, but I managed to grab my friend before, well, she decides to ask anything. Well, then that we should keep kind of running after him. Yeah, this is where, well, mostly Issei kind of runs off with mostly Murahama to try to get to school, but yeah. Now, they managed to kind of rush towards, well, school, and of course, and manage to get there. Now, they see, what's it called, mostly they see Matsui, and Matsui is kind of just waving at them, saying, yo, guys, you made it. This is where, well, mostly Matsui and mostly Issei were in class, but yeah. Or not Issei, mostly Issei and Murahama, but yeah. This is where, well, Issei nodded, and even, well, mostly Murahama. And this is where Murahama now remembers the question that he wanted to ask Issei, but mostly Issei interrupted him, saying that they had to get to mostly school and class. This is where, well, mostly Murahama doesn't know how to approach Issei with the question, and doesn't feel like actually talking next to mostly Matsui about it. But yeah, now we go into mostly a time skip of an awkward time in first hour and second hour. Now, third hour was kind of different, but not the point. Mostly, what I mean about first hour and second hour, a couple of people were actually staring at Issei. Now, of course, mostly, that was none other than the two candle girls and, of course, other people. Now, mostly, Murahama was kind of unnerved with the stares of some of the girls and some of his classmates, but it wasn't entirely directed towards him. It was towards him, but mostly they then instead looked at mostly Matsui and even Issei. Now, Issei was actually falling asleep. Yes, he was actually sleeping. While, well, Matsui was basically kind of having a book right in front of him, right now reading whatever the fuck it was containing the contact. Now, it looked like a magazine, but it was a normal book underneath. But yeah, that's where, well, mostly Murahama narrowed his eyes after seeing his friend do that. Now, he was confused on why he had that even a thing, but yeah. Now, we go into a time skip for third hour. Now, third hour, it was literally all three perverts ditching. Yeah, they weren't going to the candle spot to kind of go peep on them, because it would have went around mostly lunchtime when the candle girls would be at the candle club. But mostly Issei was kind of like getting something from somewhere. Mostly he got a sleeping bag by ditching the school, by jumping over the fence and kind of coming back with a sleeping bag. You know, the one that mostly Sensei Aizawa from mostly, yeah, My Hero Academia kind of sleeps in. Yeah, he kind of has that. But it's not yellow, it's actually green. Or mostly it's not, what's it called? Well, it is kind of green. It kind of has the army kind of like, it's kind of camouflage, okay? This is where, well, Issei gets in it and sleeps inside it. He doesn't give a damn. This is where, well, Matsui is kind of right now like sitting under a tree right now reading a book. Now, both Issei and Matsui are doing this. Murahama is actually looking for both of his idiotic friends, mostly Issei and Matsui. Now, he only calls them idiotic is because, well, he doesn't know entirely if they're actually smarter than him. Because they all keep secrets away from each other. They're all perverts, but, well, not all of them. Matsui's a pervert. Issei is a little different. Just to where, well, Issei contains a little bit more secrets, and of course his smile is always fake half the time. Every time when he's actually smiling in public. When he's actually in private, he actually doesn't smile too much. So yeah, he doesn't really talk too much about pervert things. Now, Murahama's only friends with Issei since they've been kind of like childhood friends. They've been actually good friends since they were younger. Even Matsui, along with someone else with orange hair. But this is where, well, mostly Murahama is trying to find where his two friends were at until he found Matsui laying under a tree and reading a book. And this is where this book was a different language entirely. And this is where, well, Murahama says, "Hey, Matsui, what are you reading?" This is where Matsui winds his eyes, and this is where, well, he kind of hides the book behind him, and this is where he then pulls out a magazine saying, "Oh, you know, just reading some magazines. Don't worry, it's not the latest kind of." This is where, well, Murahama narrows his eyes until Murahama says, "Hey, Matsui." This is where Matsui says, "Huh? Where's Issei?" This is where, well, Matsui says, "You can't see him, or what? Are you blind or something?" This is where, well, mostly, well, Murahama just narrows his eyes at his friend and says, "What the hell do you mean blind? I'm not blind. Do you see the caterpillar, the huge ass caterpillar behind me, right?" This is where, well, Murahama noticed the giant fucking caterpillar that's right now kind of camouflaged a little bit because it has like green spots all over, and it kind of just looks like a camouflage, like sleeping kind of like, what's it called? What is it actually called? Flip. Mostly the, yeah, I completely forgot what it's called, but it's just a, wait. Sleeping bag? I can't remember if that's what it's called. Wait. So yeah, it's a sleeping bag, but this is where, well, Murahama is actually sweating, well, mostly sweat dropping, and who exactly is inside it. He can only guess it's Issei, but he's confused why or how he even got this here. This is where, well, mostly Matsui kind of looks at mostly Murahama and says, "Are you okay? How, why does he have that here? How?" Oh, he kind of just jumped over the fence and went towards the store just to buy it. Wait, what? Jump over the fence? Shit. This is where Matsui says, "Do you remember that one time where, well, yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple of days ago, well, you remember when we kind of ran towards, well, Issei's spot when Issei was trying to relax and we actually got him involved with the girls? Yeah? Do you know how he got away?" This is where, well, mostly Murahama says, "Yeah, by him just jumping over the fence. Actually, how the hell can he even do that? He's quite athletic, you moron. Have you not paid attention most of the time?" This is where Matsui kind of comment at mostly, well, Murahama. This is where Murahama kind of switch up and says, "I guess you can say that now that I think about it. But that's not the point. Why does he have it? He's sleeping. He's right now taking a nap because he couldn't have slept that well, I guess, last night." Well, that is true. This is where Murahama kind of narrows his eyes and doesn't know if he should tell Matsui about something. This is where he says, "Matsui. Hey Matsui." This is where Matsui says, "Yeah?" This is where, well, mostly he keeps reading the magazine, but he's kind of getting bored of the magazine. And this is where, well, mostly Murahama says, "Do you know anything interesting about Issei? He's our friend and has been our friend since middle school. Well, he did kind of move that one time, but not the point." This is where, well, mostly, Murahama says, "I guess you can say that, but, how should I say? Is there anything else special about him?" This is where, well, he's our leader of our perverted group. Or did you forget that? This is where, well, this is where, Murahama says, "Never mind." This is where Matsui narrows his eyes because he's actually knowing what mostly his friend is trying to get at. This is where, well, he just sighs, actually, not actually expecting his friend to actually suspect something from mostly Issei. He sighs and just thinks in his head, "God damn it, Issei, what the hell did we do to make him suspicious of us now?" Whatever. This is where, well, he kind of just glances back at his magazine, but really wish it was the book that he was reading a while ago. And the book he was actually reading, it was literally just an interesting, like, mostly, what's it called? Mythical kind of legend book, but yeah, about an interesting sword that was actually mythical and powerful, but it wasn't the Excalibur or something else. Now, this is where, well, mostly kind of just looks at, well, Murahama. Murahama decides to sit down and just start kind of like looking into his phone, but yeah. This is where, well, Matsui sighs. Of course, this is where, well, Issei managed to get up and say, "Huh? What was that noise?" This is where, well, Matsui says, "Oh, nothing, Issei. Just go back to sleep or something." Besides, we're ditching third period anyway. Are you gonna try to ditch fourth period also? This is where, well, Murahama heard this, and of course, it seems that Masui seems to be casually just talking to Issei if like he is not here, which is confusing him. But this is where mostly Issei says, yeah, you want to screw that. I'd rather ditch that class also. Besides, I'm still tired as hell, and 1 hour sleep it would not be enough. So maybe 3 hours of sleep. So you're gonna ditch off a fifth period? Oh hell yes. What was sixth and seventh? I'll probably go for 7th hour. 6th hour I'll probably get there at probably like halfway. That's right, well, Masui chuckles and says, huh. I was thinking of doing the same, maybe? That's right, well, mostly Marahama just decides to right now cut off the silence between both of them, thinking and saying, Issei, Matsui, I want to question something from you two. This is where, well, Issei says, not now, Marahama, I'm trying to fall asleep. No, this is important. What the hell are you two? Both of them right now give out mostly questionable kind of looks. And this is where, well, Issei says, what are you talking about? What? No. What the hell was that yesterday? What do you mean yesterday? I was asleep at home. No, you weren't. I clearly saw you. I heard your voice. I even saw you during the battle of that huge octopus creature. This is where, well, mostly when he looks at Murahama's face, Murahama looks at Masui's face just to see if Masui seems to be shocked or confused or whatever the hell he's talking about. But Masui seems to be uncared. Mostly he looks at him kind of surprised a little bit, but not surprised at mostly the giant octopus. Mostly surprised at the fact that mostly Murahama has heard and probably seen Issei during the battle for Jinchuriki. This is where Matsui says, idiot. This is where, well, Matsui just calls Issei an idiot. Issei says, oh yeah, you wanna what? This is where, well, mostly Issei says, fuck you, Matsui, not the point. What are you talking about, Murahama? Are you sure you weren't playing too many video games last night and you probably felt. This is where, well, Murahama says, no, I know what the fuck I saw. You two are hiding away something from me. What is it? This is where, well, Issei sighs and says, okay, I'll tell you. This is where, well, Issei says, Matsui nodded and went through hand signs and says, ceiling style hitting jutsu. This is where, well, mostly a barrier appears around all three of them. This is where, well, mostly Murahama says, what is this? So, do you know anything about the supernatural? Mostly Issei comments at mostly, well, his friend. Murahama says, no? What the hell is the supernatural? Issei sighs and decides to explain from basic, well, mostly the basic understanding what the hell the supernatural is. This is where, well, mostly Murahama nodded and says, then what was those powers that you used a while ago? Not entirely the supernatural, but it was actually something common long ago. Mostly when a bunch of people used to use chakra and not magic. Mostly it was something that someone gave us. It was technically someone for God and, well, I guess if you can call alien gods. But not the point. They were actually the first gods to appear and other things and blah blah blah. This is where Issei decides to show mostly Matsui one of his eyes. And it was none other than Byakugan. The Byakugan. This is where, well, mostly Murahama seems surprised. What is that? What can that eye even do? It can allow me to see any chakra points inside someone's body. It can also allow me to see walls, but mostly I use it for stealth missions to actually, assassinate someone. But not the point. This is where, well, I have another eye, but that eye, I would rather not show it too much. I'd rather keep it that much of a secret. Matsui knows about what it looks like but that's just for him to keep, or for him to reveal towards you. I see. So Matsui, you know about this also. This is where Murahama looks at Matsui. Hey. Before you decide to kind of get angry at me, me and Issei knew about this. Well, I knew about it from an incident a while ago. But entirely, I didn't really knew about this whole supernatural bullcrap. It was only an incident. Well, not supernatural. They know about the supernatural existence. They just decided to ignore it half the time. Because they're really not trying to get into the supernatural side or whatever bullcrap. Here's where, well, Matsui says, but other than that, I just try to avoid that whole shit. I'm not trying to literally let out my sacred gears flow out from my body so mostly devils can target me. For your understanding, why do you think you went on a date yesterday? Wait, how do you know about that? You think I wasn't stupid enough when I saw you across, like, mostly a mission I was on? While Issei was on a mission of fighting the Jinchuriki, the thing you just saw a while ago, that giant octopus thing, I was on a mission to assassinate something else. And I saw your ass literally going on a date with a fallen angel, and you literally would have got killed if it wasn't for the interruption of a battle between Issei and the what's it called Jinchuriki. What is exactly a Jinchuriki? A Jinchuriki is basically a sacrificial human. Basically, they were sacrificed to kind of attain this power. Now, mostly back then, Jinchuriki was a cursive word for mostly a bunch of people, because no one wanted to become a Jinchuriki. Some people might have been willing to become a Jinchuriki, but it would have meant you would have been, well, mostly isolated from people and became a weapon towards a village. This is where, well, mostly Matsui explains. I see. Then what about now, present day? Becoming a Jinchuriki is still possible. You just have to have a lot more chakra to contain the beast. But there's also a possible chance that you're still probably isolated and being used as a weapon from those who are hidden kind of people. There's still ninja shinobis, but not many. Unlike me and Issei, who are actually considered to be in the shinobi world. Entirely secrecy, but not the point. This is where, well, right now, or mostly Motohama never has eyes and says, I see. Well then, this is where, well, mostly Motohama never has eyes have basically both of his friends, that they're basically being told that there's the supernatural, the shinobi world, gangsters and other shit, but yeah. Basically, gangsters is actually a key word because something in the near future might happen, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly, right now, well, mostly Motohama sighs and says, so what do I have? A sacred gear? Okay, yes, I basically now found that out thanks to the fact that my girlfriend was trying to kill me. And thanks to your luckily in time you were saving me. Yeah. Now, how can we can seal your sacred gear and then you can awaken it later and we can basically just help you train and awaken it and just keep having it sealed so basically devils think that you don't have anything special. But wouldn't they target one of you? Ha, if they do, I'm killing them in an instant, Issei said without any mercy to its words. This is where, well, mostly Motohama just look at his friend and just sigh, he just widen his eyes. And this is where, well, he looks at his friend, we'll see, what's it called, the other one? Mostly looks at Matsui. Matsui just looks at him with narrow eyes and says, what do you think my answer is? I'm not gonna let no one literally target me. Unless they are basically my targets. Because, well, fuck that. I'm going to be the hunter. I'm not going to be the fucking prey. This is where, well, mostly Motohama sighs and says, I see. What happened if it's a beautiful girl? Still don't care. Both of them says, we don't care. We're not actually entirely perverts. Well, I know Matsui is. Yeah, kind of. I kind of do like one of the girls. And what's it called? The Kendo Club. And that's Catherine. Why do you think I always go with you to kind of go spy on them? Mostly I kind of like Catherine a lot. This is where, well, mostly... well, we'll see Hama just wind his eyes and says, I see. Then, Issei? Why do you think I never go with you guys? I just literally just sit my business, but you fuckers decide to somehow drag them towards me. This is where, well, mostly they just switch up and say, yeah, that is true. This is where, well, Issei says, oh, so that reminds me, I'm gonna give you 2 fucking knuckle sandwiches for the, well, last time you guys motherfuckers, like, I don't know, threw my ass with you. And this is where, well, they said, it wasn't that bad. You managed to get away. Mostly we say, yeah, I managed to get away, but one of the girls are stupid enough to actually jump over the fence. And of course, not having a proper landing or a proper jumping over the fence, their stupid ass literally got hurt. Who was that? It was one of the newest girls. So you remember that kind of brunette with reddish hair? This is where, well, both of them wind their eyes and saying, her? She is quite beautiful. Both of them said, her crystallized ruby eyes are such... this is where, well, they're kind of... Mostly, it was Motohama kind of going on with details. And this is where, well, he says, watch off and says, yeah, what was her name? Kaden. Yeah, her name was Kaden. And, basically, yeah, I had to bring her to the hospital. I had to be her fucking, like, stuffed bear. She was hugging me very tight. She was also quite tense when mostly the doctors were supposed to help her out. She was quite too nervous. She would have passed out in an instant if I wasn't there. The doctors explained that they would have used sleeping drugs to make her pass out, but they don't know if that would actually commit her body to go into shock. She needed just someone there. And I was the only motherfucker there. I didn't know her freaking phone number for her family. I didn't know any of that. And I was literally there. I didn't want to get bothered by anyone. Well... You already know the reason why I'm not trying to get bothered, Matsui. and when I visit the hospital. Mostly nodded and says, "Yep, know about that. Just anytime you're gonna go to a hospital, I know you're gonna leave my ass somewhere. Yeah, because I'm going to go check on someone. Other than that, well, I should probably tell you this, Murahama. If I'm ever going to the hospital, I'm going to check on someone. So either if you manage to get me kicked out of the hospital because your stupid ass wanted to go check on some of the nurses, I will fucking kick your head off your body with one fucking strike. And this time, I'll make sure you stay in the graveyard." This word, well, Murahama gulps and nodded. He just feels threatened around Issei's. Issei's pressure chakra right now appears around his body. Now, his chakra aura is actually a little bit different. It's actually a whitish color. It's a whitish color, but this is where, well, mostly he nodded and said, "Yes, I understand." This is where Issei said, "Good." But that's not the point. So, do you want us to seal your sacred gear and you will no longer be targeted by the devils, even if they try to kill you and try to revive you and trying to make you into a devil? They won't work. Mostly the seal will prevent anything from that happening. Or would you like for us to just train you and still kind of be with the supernatural, and if the devils do kill you, you will become their slave? Don't you mean servant? Slave, servant, the same fucking thing. Do you... Okay. Issei said, "What does a servant and a slave mostly not in common?" A slave and a servant is basically the same thing entirely. Servant is just a fancy word for slave. If it was like butler or maiden, it would have been different. You see here, they get paid easily. They get paid money, right? That's what a butler and what's it called? Well, I mean, a servant would be in those words for human kind of like rich people. They would basically call that like a servant. For devils, they call it servant, but it's truly in reality for them, it's basically a slave. It's either a sexual slave or basically just a slave for whatever. You get the point, right? This is where, well, we'll see. Murahama nodded. So there's basically my definition of, well, the difference between human slaves, or not human slaves, mostly human servants and devil servants. Basically, devil servants are literally just slaves, while human servants are basically servants that actually do get paid. While when you're a devil, you don't get paid at all. You're just a devil. So, low-ranking devil, that sucks for you. This is what, well, mostly, what Hama says. So, you two are still human? Not entirely. This is where, well, mostly says, I am human, I'm 100% human. And my sacred gear might not allow me to be 100% human, but that's not the point. What is your sacred gear? This is where, well, mostly says, that I will never tell you. Wait, what? Why not? Until maybe we awaken your sacred gear, I will train with you, and I might tell you my sacred gear. But for right now, I'm not telling you anything about my sacred gear. You just gotta know that my sacred gear could be able to rival that of the Longitis. True Longitis, but not the point. This is where, well, we'll see Murahama nada, and this is where Murahama looks at mostly his friend Issei. Issei says, I'm not entirely human. You see here, 75% I'm alien. You see, well, I am 75% alien. And that's just basically because of these two diamond palms right here in my palms. Or mostly, yeah, these diamonds in my palms. These two things were something that mostly was an accident, and at the same time, probably something on purpose, but mostly it was... I just don't want to talk about it, okay? It just brings way too many bad memories about my parents and why they died. Not the point, okay? This is where, well, mostly Murahama nodded. He's not going into any of Issei's kind of personal life. If it does kind of cause Issei pain, he probably shouldn't try to like force the information out, or he will be sleeping with the fishes. But yeah. Now this is where, well, mostly they say, is that all you want to ask? Because we will let down the barrier after a while. This is where, well, mostly Murahama nodded and says, I think that's all I needed to ask. Also, Issei, where do you live? This is where Issei says, I'm not telling you where the fuck I live. What is this? Some kind of Chinese fucking servant call? Sir, where do you fucking live? This is where, well, mostly, what's it called? Murahama switch off. This is where, well, it must be kind of chocolate. That makes sense. Yeah, not happening. This is where, well, mostly, Matsui looks at Murahama. Well, not Matsui. Murahama looks at Matsui, and Matsui says, "I'm not telling you where I live, neither." Oh, come on, guys. We're basically best friends, and you guys won't tell me where you guys live? The problem is we're not telling you because we don't trust you entirely. Actually, that's entirely the reason. Until we get a better focus on like being actual best friends and you stop being a pervert idiot, we will kind of help you out even more. Just right, Mel. Murahama says, "How am I going to be stopping when there's nothing better than Opai?" This is right, Mel. Mostly both Issei and even Matsui, they actually stop being perverts after a while, mostly during middle school. But they just keep up the antics just so Murahama wouldn't feel too bad. Or mostly Murahama just walks away and becomes friends with something else or become a loner. Or just any way to commit suicide, but not the point. But mostly, they kind of just like look at his friends and say, "Not everything is related with Opai. What, are you going to just start a scientist business and how to explore Opai and other shit?" This is where mostly Matsui just kind of like joked around with. And this is where, well, Murahama just glares at his friend and says, "No, I'm not going to do something crazy like that." But now that you think about it, science, I have a quite interest in that class, but this is where, well, mostly both of his friends just kind of switch off at mostly his friend. He's an Opai lover, still basically being a pervert terms, but then again, he's also the fact that he likes science. This is where, well, mostly Issei would have used something to actually see what sacred gear he will have, or not sacred gear, because mostly Issei doesn't have a sacred gear. Well, he does, but he doesn't know about it. Well, I wouldn't say he doesn't know about it, he doesn't really use it too much. And the person, well, the sacred gear itself, is quite a very upset, angry dragon. Because, well, the fucker doesn't want to use him anytime. Anytime in a battle for Jinchuriki, or mostly in a death battle with something. But yeah, we will only use him in desperate, and I mean desperate as situations. Other than that, Issei is a quite genius, and mostly he will literally use something else instead of using his sacred gear. So yeah. And also, Issei does use seals to seal his sacred gear kind of present, so people won't target him. But yeah. Also, Matsui does have a seal on his body, but not the point. Matsui, also I should mention, yes, Matsui does have chakra. He's able to use chakra. He was kind of born with chakra, but that's not the point here or there. He's a human who was born with chakra and not a Nekomato or any of that shit. Or mostly yokai entirely. But we go into mostly the seal being, well, mostly taken out, and this is where, well, mostly Murahama is now able to walk out of the seal and other shit. And this is where, well, Murahama says, "What time is it?" This is where, well, we only been there in about like 30, well, mostly, we've been inside the barrier about 30 minutes. But really, in the outside, it was only like 5 seconds. What the? Yeah, so it's a time barrier just so we didn't look like we just missed out anything. So you guys can use these barriers to sleep for hours inside them, and yet there would be like nothing passing outside. Then why don't you guys just use them? This is where, well, mostly Murahama just looks at his friends just in distraught and just dumbfounded, shocked. This is where, well, he says, "Because I want to get out of class faster than you think. I don't want to stay in class. Besides, did you not realize in the morning where everyone was staring at us? They're probably already wondering about me and why the hell I was there entirely. Also, if you heard something like poking something or like something smashing into something, I accidentally smashed my nail into the door. And my door is metal, so of course that kind of hurt. But not the point. Let me go back to what if. But this is where, well, mostly Issei said, but that's not the point here or there. Just know this, I'm not going to try to be involved with the supernatural. Even if they try to put me involved, I will kick the hell out of the fucking mouse before I decide to submit towards anyone. I'll beat the shit out of the mouse, the fucking fallen angel governors. I don't give a shit if I even have to fight against Michael his goddamn self. I'll beat the crap out of anyone. I'm not getting involved with their stupidity and their stupid wars. This is where, well, mostly Murahama sees that Issei is literally dead-ass serious that he will not get involved with any of that shit. He doesn't care if Ria Squirmery has a marriage. He really doesn't care. He will not get involved with any of the supernatural unless it's basically something that revolves around him, but not the point. So where, well, mostly, what's it called? Matsui nodded. Mostly it's Motohama that nodded and says, okay, fine. Then what are we going to be doing? I'm ditching the whole goddamn day. Even if I ditch it the 7th hour, I don't care. This is where, well, mostly Issei said, I might just even ditch the whole, like, school, like, day by going towards, I don't know, fucking McDonald's. This is where, well, mostly Issei said. This is where, well, mostly Motohama sweats up at his friend's antics and says, I see. Well, wait, you can just jump over the fence and go get food, right? Yeah. What about Matsui? I do the exact same thing, motherfucker. Why do you think sometimes I don't show up to class? I thought you were going to go like spy on the Kendall girls. With me half the time. I do that, but when it's something like I want to go get food or something, I literally go ditch with Issei to just go get food and we come back later. But I think it's better to just ditch the whole day now, because people are going to ask me or target me also. So I want to go keep it on the down low. Yeah, let's just keep it on the down low. This is where, well, Issei kind of just says, well, let's just go get some food then. This is where, well, Issei gets a sleeping bag, puts it into a different dimension. And this is where, well, mostly just using a bit of chakra, or not using a bit of chakra, mostly. He doesn't use any chakra. And mostly both Matsui and even Motohama gets up. And this is where they're getting towards like a wall. And just to jump over it, mostly it's a fence, mostly a metal fence that's kind of near some trees. And this is where, well, right now, Motohama says, so how are we guys gonna do this? This is where both literally Matsui and Issei just start jumping over the fence by kind of climbing the fucking gate. Or not even the gate, the metal fence. And just jump over it. They tell Matsui and how to do it. Or not Matsui, mostly Motohama on how to do it. They literally tell him step by step and jumping over it. And not to fuck himself over. Just where, well, he managed to somehow fuck himself over by cutting his, like, mostly his hand. And this is where, well, mostly Matsui had to heal him by using a bit of like chakra healing, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei says, idiot. This is where, well, Matsui says, just, if you wanna, we can always just cut the fence, not gonna lie. This is where, well, mostly, whatever Hama question says, what do you mean? Just never mind, let's just fucking go to McDonald's, I'm hungry. This is where all of them just walk the fuck off, but yeah. Now, we go into a crimson hair beauty who actually tries to keep tabs on what the trio pervert, but mostly Motohama and also Issei. But there's one problem. They were here in the morning, mostly first and second period. They were gone third period, fourth period, fifth period, sixth period, and kind of seventh period. They came back. Now, she was confused because the whole freaking, like, mostly the whole campus, they were gone for almost the entire day. This is where she wasn't thinking that they basically ditch, because she was thinking that mostly they're perverts and why would they ditch unless they want to go do something else and they're not perverts. But she's still thinking that they're perverts and will be easily able to win over. Now, she hasn't sent anything special from mostly Matsui. Now, she has tried to send something special from Issei, even so, since mostly that yesterday, mostly that whole incident. But there's nothing special from him neither. This is where, well, she's confused because the power that he was mostly erupting from his body that day was confusing, and now he does not erupting with any kind of aura or power or any sacred gear, which is confusing. She also tried to sense mostly Motohama, but Motohama's sacred gear seems to be also sealed or somewhat not there, and she probably is just so confused with it. But yeah, this is where, well, she has sent Kaneko to kind of check on it, even Akano, and yet they haven't found any sacred gears on them, which is confusing as hell. Because where, well, people who are from the supernatural actually narrow their eyes and will see sometimes Issei, Matsui, or even Motohama. Because they're considered the trio perverts, but yet they would have sent something powerful within them a while ago, but now they don't have it. Or mostly Matsui never had something. Issei never had something either, but until that day and how his like mostly hood was revealed to us supernatural, that's not a possible case. And this is where, well, mostly then there's Motohama that has something powerful in him and no longer there. But yeah. So everyone is just so damn confused about all three of them. Now, except for Matsui, they just think Matsui never had a secret in the first place, but yeah. But we go into somewhat of a time skip. Now, we go into someone kind of managing to get into Japan. Now, this person is actually a goddess, And the reason why she's actually only here is to kind of check on something interesting that actually kind of caught her eyes. Because, well, she kind of has a niece kind of going to a school in Japan. And this is where, well, she was going there to actually keep an eye on her, or mostly just tell her the ways of not to believe in men too much or whatever bullcrap. Even though she doesn't like the human world because just they're full of men and other things. This is where, well, she's going, but this is where, well, she was actually stopped. She turned into a human form. Mostly she did take on a human form of like a schoolgirl, just so no one would be too suspicious. But this is where, when she was about to get into mostly Japan, lightning struck her and right now sent her into a different dimension. She was kind of like someone at the airport, mostly acting like a normal human, but yeah. But people who were around her just didn't notice, and yeah. This is where, well, she was confused. She was literally thrown into a different dimension. Now, she was angry and annoyed in whoever decided to bring her to this dimension. And it was none other than a guy with kind of blackish hair. He does have blackish hair and it would have been long, but he has it into a ponytail behind him. This is where, well, he has a black beard. And this is where, well, he does have, what's it called, a somewhat kimono. Well, mostly the male kimono. But it's kind of revealing one side of mostly showing his muscles. It's kind of like parallel kind of wearing. But yeah, it kind of looks like this. Let me show. So he kind of looks like Hanzo. So it kind of looks like Hanzo from mostly Overwatch. And the only reason why I know about Hanzo is because someone asked me for what if for mostly putting this character as someone, but I can't remember. But yeah, but he kind of looks like Hanzo, but there's kind of lightning usually cracking around him, and he doesn't use a bow entirely. Wait. So he has a sword behind him, and this is where, well, he is kind of sighing. He can feel the god energy from this kind of human girl. Or not entirely a human girl because it's only a shapeshifter. This is where, well, we'll see this person who was, well, she kind of had like blackish hair somewhat, like beautiful blackish hair, that's kind of schoolgirl. And of course, she had kind of like these beautiful kind of like somewhat silverish eyes that was kind of depend a little bit of the moon, but not the point. This is where, well, she was just like having also a school uniform. And this is where, well, just like a random school uniform, but not the point. But this is where, well, well, not school uniform. It was just a kind of attire like a normal school, or just casual clothes for a normal schoolgirl. But not the point. This is where, well, she was narrowing her eyes at the, well, supposedly god from the Shinto faction. Mostly, she wasn't expecting this god to actually expect her to even be here entirely, and actually wasn't expecting this god to actually even find her in an end scene. You see here, this god is usually never the type of person to actually, well, kind of, well, mostly go in the, mostly like, not offense, but mostly in the whole finding different gods or even beings to just appear in this place. Mostly it's different other Shinto gods that usually would appear and other things. But she's so confused in this god entirely. It's none other than, mostly he has a sword behind him. The sword is a legendary sword, but he's none other than the storm god, the mostly younger brother of Amaterasu, but he's also the storm god of mostly the Shinto faction. He is none other than Susanoo. This is where, well, this squirrel girl somewhat also is a goddess from a different faction, but she was never expecting to see Susanoo right in front of her. She was expecting to see Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi, or someone else entirely, but not, what's it called, well, Susanoo. This is where, well, she has heard in mostly the brash stories of how Susanoo is quite brash, and mostly he's quite violent and other things, and yeah, not the point. This is where, well, mostly Susanoo is just having his kind of like bluish eyes, because they're kind of filled with kind of lightning and crackling. This is where, well, he's sighing and saying, "What are you doing here, Artemis?" From, well, the goddess of, well, the moon and hunting. Also known as a virgin, yeah. Was it virgin goddess? I don't give a damn about the news from the other factions. But what exactly are you doing in what's it called Japan/Shinto faction kind of territory? A little bit, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly the goddess now known as Artemis kind of says, how did you, this is where Artemis went into her true form. She's now a very beautiful female, kind of old, but not that old. She kind of looks to be in like her kind of like 20s or 30s. But this is where, well, she has longish blackish hair, beautiful kind of like silverish, kind of whitish eyes. Well, kind of silverish, but platinum, bluish, but not the point. This is where, well, she also has kind of palish, well, not that palish skin, kind of tannish palish skin. But this is where, well, she has a voluptuous figure, and this is where, well, she has a dress on her, but not the point. This is where, well, she kind of has also, well, yeah, blackish hair, I said, mentioned, yeah. This is where, well, she kind of just looks at Susanoo, narrow her eyes. Well, she doesn't have a dress. She has, like, mostly this, like outfit that's kind of for hunting. This is where, well, she kind of just narrow her eyes at, well, the god of storm, being Susanoo. She sighs and says, and why should you care, Susanoo? Aren't you brash and reckless and trying to attack anyone who dares hurt your kind of like sisters, or like either Amaterasu or someone else? This is where, well, mostly Susanoo says yes, but I just have a key interest on a certain human, a couple of humans, but not the point. I'm only keeping on guard just to make sure that you're not going to target these certain humans that have a key interest. This is where, well, mostly Artemis says, she scoffs and says, didn't know the freaking god of storm actually had key interest on humans. I thought he just didn't care. I don't care. This human isn't entirely human. He's not even from the supernatural entirely. But I'm only keeping his privacy information on a down low. And I'm just telling you now, if you hurt this human, I will not hesitate to kick your ass back to your faction. Back to your own fucking pantheon. I do not care if, what's it called, your father, Susanoo, comes over here and looking for a fight. I will probably also beat his ass and throw his ass back to the fucking, well, pantheon of Greek mythology. This is where, well, mostly Artemis narrowed her eyes. This is where, well, she was never expecting Susanoo to be so brash and actually telling her to, well, he will literally kick her back into her own pantheon. Even if Susanoo comes over, well, not Susanoo, even if Zeus comes back over here and trying to pick a fight with Susanoo will probably also beat the shit out of him, but yeah, or try to kick the shit back to the pantheon of Greek mythology. This is where, well, mostly Artemis narrows her eyes and says, whatever, I'm not gonna attack the certain human you want me not to attack. Actually, how would I even know about the certain human? Oh, you would know. And this human, he does have a little bit of my energy, magic signature with him, to show that any gods not to mess with him, unless he sealed it. Showing that, yeah, he probably sealed it, and you will probably not notice. I'm just telling you, he's also a male, so don't attack that many males. Yeah, but not the point. Also, I wonder if he's still in Tokyo, or is he in, I can't remember. But that's not the point here or there. I'm just telling you, Artemis, if you dare attack this human, I will literally would not care if I start a war with a damn pantheon. This is where, well, mostly Artemis just narrows her eyes and says, whatever, I don't care about male humans or any of that. All I care is about going to see my niece. Someone that I also kind of thought of putting as a successor. Mostly a successor for, well, using the bow. This is where she summons out the bow, and this is where, well, mostly Susanoo says, whatever, I do not care whatever you do. Just know this, target him and I'll kill you. This is where, well, Artemis narrows her eyes, but this is where Susanoo snaps his fingers and lightning crackles around her and disappearing. This is where Susanoo sighs and says, God damn it, why is there a god from a different pantheon here? Now I have to tell, well, mostly Tsukiyomi about this. I wonder how Tsukiyomi is going to deal with this shit. I don't like dealing with fucking other pantheons, and I don't like writing a report about their shit. So I'd rather let fucking Tsukiyomi do this. This is where, well, mostly Susanoo just sighs and just decides to look at his, like, beautiful pawn that he has with him in his own dimension, but yeah. This is where, well, we go into mostly a time skip of mostly Artemis going into mostly a town. This is where Artemis is now into this town, but this is where she felt a strange energy of someone actually quite feeling powerful. This is where, well, it was a quite powerful energy signature, but this is where, well, the being wasn't entirely human, or in her words, kind of human. But she decided to follow the signature. It was mostly leading up to this house that was quite large to be a mansion. She didn't sense many presents inside it, except for a male presence, but it seemed to be like a butler, servant, or whatever. And this is where, well, she just ignored it, but decides to go into the forest. Well, yeah, into the forest of the backyard. And, of course, managed to kind of get over the fence by just flying over it, but yeah. This is where, well, she went to see what is happening in the forest. This is where, well, when she kind of checked into the forest, she sees someone right now being so dead tired. Right now breathing, of course, like breathing really hard. Right now kind of sweating also. And this is where, well, he's wearing kind of a, mostly long sleeve kind of shirt. Of course, he does have torns and rips around his body, but mostly his shirt, long sleeve. But yeah, so kind of not black button up shirt. It's mostly like a shirt that's quite tying up his muscles. But this is where, well, he's breathing out hard, and this is where, well, he has kind of brownish, messy kind of hair, but not the point. He also kind of has his goldenish brown eyes. Well, kind of goldenish brown eyes. This is where, well, he opens his eyes just a little bit and looking towards a tree. Now, the tree right in front of him was literally exploded. When she kind of decides to, well, she was trying to look towards this person, and she did manage to see what happened before the tree exploded. The person managed to hit the tree multiple times, like 3 times, like in a certain kind of pressure point kind of style, and this is where it then exploded. She was confused in this male human, but interested a little bit. This is where, well, the male human seems to be training really hard. Very hard. She doesn't know why, but she truly wouldn't care too much unless the male human already called her out. Which, yes, mostly Issei already called out this person, and why the hell is she kind of spying on him? Because where, well, she decides to get out of, well, mostly the trees, and showed to be mostly mostly a school, kind of a schoolgirl, or not even a schoolgirl. It was actually, she transformed into shapeshifting into someone like a little, like wolf, like a small wolf. This is where, well, Issei had his eyes, well, one of his eyes were kind of palish, and of course having bulges around his, mostly one of his eyes being his left eye, and this is where, well, he narrowed his eyes and says, "You realize I know that you're shapeshifting." This is where, well, she then decided to transform. It was none other than Artemis, but mostly she went into her, like, school kind of girl outfit. Or mostly schoolgirl, mostly person. This is where, well, she narrowed her eyes, and this is where, well, Issei says, "Huh, you're still shapeshifting, but I would not care too much of showing your true form, because I don't care that much. I only wanted to talk to a person, not a person to be, well, what's it called, beast. But that's not the point. What are you doing here, actually in my territory, and, well, mostly my house, yard, lawn, whatever you like to call it? What are you actually doing here?" This is where, well, he narrowed his eyes. This is where, well, Artemis decides to say that, well, she was just kind of wondering and why she felt such a strong energy signature coming from here. This is where, well, Issei narrowed his eyes and says, "And why should a god even care so much about it?" This is where Artemis gets on guard and actually didn't expect Issei to already know about her being a kind of god. She doesn't even know who exactly this boy exactly is. She doesn't care that much because it's a male, because she doesn't like males or any of that. But this is where, well, she's narrowed her eyes at mostly Issei. This is where, well, Issei says, "But that's not the point here, there. What exactly do you want? Actually, no. Why are you here in Kuo? Actually, this place is full of devils and even what's called fallen angels, some exorcists, but not the point. This place isn't that quite interesting. I thought you were going to go into Tokyo or Kyoto or something like that, where it's kind of better to be there than into the small town." That's why, well, mostly the goddess, who Issei can just expect to be a goddess and doesn't know who exactly it is, then just narrow her eyes and says, "And why should a male even care about what I'm doing?" This is where, well, Issei narrowed his eyes and says, "Okay, wait a minute. Well, the only goddess that I can think of actually hate males entirely is Artemis." This is where, well, Issei gets on guard entirely. And this is where, well, he has his hands right in front of him, but pulls out 2 tonsils out of nowhere. Mostly like spawn them out by basically poofing out like seals appearing in his hand. This is where, well, he's on guard right now and glaring at, well, the goddess. He is, well, not entirely sure in why the goddess of mostly hunting, moon, well, yeah, the hunting, recipient of the moon, hunting, and also I think mostly the pride of females or whatever, is doing in his fucking yard, mostly in his house, in his lawn. It's mostly his territory, but not the point. He is so confused in what she's actually doing here. This is where, well, he knows that she, well, mostly not she, mostly Issei has never actually pissed off any female, any kind of direct distance towards the goddess, what's it called, of mostly this whole bullcrap being Artemis. He made sure not to go piss off any god. He tries to, like, find information on targeting a bunch of people, so he won't actually do a mistake and something happens. This is where, well, mostly Artemis narrowed her eyes after seeing Issei kind of is on guard. Issei is now his eyes. This is where, well, his eyes right now is the Byakugan still, well, Byakugan still activated, but this is where, well, Issei says, why is the goddess of moon and hunting here? Actually, I don't remember pissing off any goddess, director, center, whatever bullcrap. So why is the goddess, your name is, not Artemis. Why are you here? Actually, what exactly do you even want from me? This is where, well, Artemis narrowed her eyes and this is where, well, she was kind of shocked to believe mostly this, like, male human man to discover who exactly she was. Well, it was kind of not that hard because she kind of despised humans, and not many goddesses that Issei can think of can despise humans too much. Well, there is a couple, but Artemis was the one to literally pop into his head in an instant. This is where, well, Issei says, I don't know why you're here, but if you're here trying to kill me, I'm not gonna let that happen. I still have goals and stuff to do, so that shit ain't happening. This is where, well, Artemis narrows her eyes and says, well, is a male human like you trying to, well, act brave and other things, trying to show that he's much more superior and, well, surviving? What about all the other females? This is where Artemis was complaining other things, and this is where Issei says, I don't care and what the hell you're talking about, but for right now, I need you to get out of my freaking yard. I haven't bothered you, I haven't done shit. Now get the fuck out of here. This is where, well, Issei is kind of, well, narrowing his eyes. He doesn't care if he literally has to go against a goddess. This is where, well, goddess, well, mostly was a calm. Well, mostly Artemis says, fine, if you want to fight so badly, then I will take you down, male human. This is where, well, Issei says, the name's Issei. Well, not Issei, no. The name is, Ishiki. This is where, well, Issei says, the name's Ishiki. And this is where, well, mostly Artemis says, Ishiki, fine. I will fight against you, Ishiki, and I will show you the power of, well, mostly the power that you shouldn't be too arrogant and cocky of fighting against me. This is where he said, I might be cocky arrogant, but whatever. This is where, well, mostly Artemis decides to kind of summon out her bow, and this is where both of them are right now on guard. But until next time, yes, I'm gonna leave it off here for part, what's it called, part 2. And yeah, part 3 might be, you know what, no, I'm not gonna leave it off for part 2 here. I'm actually gonna continue on. But yeah, so we go into the battle between mostly Artemis and Issei. I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna leave it off here for part 2. But instead, we go into the battle between them. This is where, well, both of them start kind of fighting and clashing. Even though Issei is kind of tired, he's still kind of fighting against Artemis. Now, Artemis is still in somewhat her school kind of like girl outfit, mostly kind of looking like a schoolgirl, but mostly they are both fighting. And this is where, well, Artemis is sending like arrows straight towards Issei, but Issei is trying to easily dodge, which he's still using the Byakugan to just easily dodge him. And of course, being able to see mostly pressure points and weak points into mostly the arrows. Just using their swords to stab upon them and easily just cut them. This is where, well, Artemis is shocked, but this is where both of them are right now going to hand-to-hand combat. Mostly Artemis pulls out a dagger out of nowhere and tries to stab at Issei, but this is where Issei uses his one of Tantos to deflect it and try to stab at her. Now both of them are right now kind of fighting, but this is where Artemis decides to, well, push the two Tantos out of Issei's hand and try to punch him. This is where Issei dodges and decides to notice that she's going to hand-to-hand combat. Now of course he knows that it's quite dangerous to go into hand-to-hand combat because he's still entirely somewhat human versus against a goddess. Unless he uses his karma seal, but not the point. This is where, well, he decides to remember a technique that, well, his grandfather managed to teach him before he kind of passed away, and that is the 8 inner gates. This is where, well, he decides to open 2 inner gates and right now fight against, well, Artemis. Now, Artemis was getting overpowered until Artemis decides to go into her full transformation. This is where, well, basically back into her original form and right now power up a little bit more, what's it called, magical power. This is where Issei said, fine. If you want me to go into the 8th gate of death, then I will have no choice. This is where Artemis stops for a second and says, wait, what do you mean 8th gate of death? This is where, well, Artemis narrows her eyes. He says it's a technique. You see here, I'm already somewhere in the 8 inner gates, just activated 2. Issei explains some of the gates, and this is where, well, mostly Artemis winds her eyes. There's a gate that's literally called of death. This is where, well, she was actually confused and shocked on why Issei would go that far, or mostly Ishiki. This is where Issei literally stole Ishiki's name because, well, fuck it. This is where, well, he's not entirely trying to still reveal his name. This is where, well, into the supernatural, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly she narrows her eyes and says, you think you can still defeat me in that, what's it called, 8th gate? Issei says, well, there used to be mostly a lot of humans back then. Issei kind of explains a little bit of back then, mostly being a lot of humans, even male or even female, that used to be able to use the 8 inner gates. Now, of course, back then, there was a lot of people that didn't really have that much strength, and if humans decide to train like hell of what he has been doing, then humans would be able to hold out to call the 8 inner gates. But if a normal human right now in this present time, if were to use it, or even a supernatural, their bodies will literally explode. This is where Artemis says, so if I use them, what will happen? That's a good question. I mean, you do trade, you do hunt, you do a lot of things. I mean, a beautiful female like you usually do train a lot harder than any of the other gods. So I would expect you to actually be able to use the 8 inner gates, but still with some kind of, how should I say, some fatigue and maybe some strains on your body. This is where Artemis just narrowed her eyes at how Issei kind of say that, and this is where, well, mostly Artemis scoffs and says, you think I will just be smoothed out talk by you, a male human? This is where, well, Issei says, not entirely a male human, but whatever. This is where, well, she narrows her eyes and says, what are you then? This is where, well, Issei says, you can say that I'm an alien, but that's not the point here or there. This is where, well, Issei puts both of his hands together, and this is where, well, he says, 8 inner gates! This is where, well, he explodes with this red energy. Now, of course, this is where Issei is using the karma seals to actually kind of control some of the, what's it called, sage energy, mostly like, not sage energy, mostly using some natural energy just to kind of calm his body down so he wouldn't actually fully kill himself, but not the point. And this is where, well, Issei right now rushes at Artemis with blinding speed, punching her in the gut and right now kind of breaking some ribs. This is where she widened her eye. Even if she uses like her full power, she probably won't be able to go against Issei. This is where Issei could have easily finished her off by punching her in the face. This is where Issei stopped, and this is where he lets go of the 8 inner gates. Issei is right now breathing really hard, but this is where, well, he kind of like, well, is standing right in front of her. Now, of course, Artemis is right now down on the ground. She's coughing a little bit of blood and just glaring at Issei and says, why didn't you finish me, huh? Or do you want something from me? Issei says, no, not entirely. I don't really want anything from you. I just want to know one thing. Why do you hate males so much? I've been wondering about that. I have read some of the books and about things about like you and some of the morphology. I just never understand why you hate male humans entirely. Is it because you got broken up by a heart crush or something? I never did expect heartbroken or relationships or any of that. So I don't really know much about that. The only thing I know much is, well, pain of like losing someone like family members. But I don't know anything about relationships. So I'm probably the wrong person to even ask. This is where, well, Artemis says, how do you know about that? Well, I can only guess from the fact that you hate us so entirely, so much. Even though you know that males are supposed to kind of repopulate the entire human species, because that's the only way to kind of repopulate it, unless you want somehow another freaking whatever ancient way to kind of be able to repopulate it. But that's not the point here or there. How exactly do you think, why do you think all males are scum? I know there's some entirely, but not all of us are such scumbags that what you think about us in your head. This is where, well, we'll see Artemis scoff and says, fine, if you want to know so badly, I will tell you. This is where, well, she glares at Issei and Issei says, if you don't want to tell me, don't tell me then. This is where Issei said, kind of waving her off. Issei is right now kind of deadpanning, and of course, we're not deadpanning, mostly breathing out really hard because thanks to the fact that if he uses the 8 inner gates in a reckless way, he would have probably restrained his body more than normal. Luckily, using the karma seals to kind of gather some, what's it called, nature energy, since yes, he does have a, what's it called, a sage mode, but not that complete, not the point. This is where, well, mostly Artemis says, fine, if you want to know about my story, I'll tell you. This is where, well, she explains about what happened, about she fell in love with a male. This is where this male was, well, quite strong, of course. He was quite amazing. he was a human to begin with, of course, where, well, she then explains how the male kind of betrayed her love and, of course, kind of broke her heart. And this is where she started explaining and how all the males are nothing but scumbags and other things. And, of course, the male did kind of break in her heart and other things. It also just explained that he was better than the goddess of, well, hunting and other things because he's a male, he's supreme and other things. Superior and other things. This is where, well, he says kind of in her eyes and says, wow, never expect something like that. Then again, never mind. I wouldn't say I'm better than you. Yes, using the 8 inner gates would have literally got me the win, but it also would have probably hurted my body more than ever. That's why I don't use them. The only time I ever use them is probably when I'm literally in a desperate situation battle. And I only use them for only a couple of seconds. Because even if I can use them for much longer, I'm not trying to restrain my body too much and having to need to heal for a couple of years. Just because I take out one person. Even if I take out one person, it doesn't really matter. This is where, well, we'll see Artemis in her eyes and says, what, do you think I'm not important to fight? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I don't want to fight your freaking father Zeus. This is where, well, he says that. This is where, well, Artemis in her eyes and then says, whatever. This is where Issei says, now if you don't care too much, well, not care too much, how should I say? How should I say? What happens if I decide to go after this person? I am somewhat of a bounty hunter. What happens if I go after the male that you basically hate? This is where, well, she sighs and says, well, I know he's still alive, but I don't think he will actually remember me. I think he's just too old. This is where, well, he just says, and why haven't you just visit him and decide to kill him your own? Because it still hurts, okay? This is where, well, Artemis said. This is where, well, he says, switch up and says, Jesus Christ, you're acting like a schoolgirl half the damn time. Not the point. Whatever. Issei gets up in an instant and decides to lend his hand towards Artemis and says, your ribs still hurt. I did kind of just smash almost all of them. So I need you to hold still. This is where, well, Issei right now uses Karma Seal, being, well, the blue one. And this is where, well, he let about a little bit of chakra out of his hand. Mostly being turning green. And this is where, well, he puts it near her kind of waist. One of her, mostly her right waist. And this is where Artemis' face becomes a little red. Now, of course, this is where, well, Issei says, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just healing the ribs that I literally shatter from that punch. This is where he's not using his left hand because his left hand was the one to actually punch it. And of course, it did hurt still using the 8 gates of death, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei is right now healing the ribs, and of course, where, well, he has, well, his Byakugan kind of activated, so he can actually restore all the ribs that he did kind of shatter. And this is where, well, and also some of the puncture kind of lungs and other thing, and internal bleeding and whatever. This is where, well, he heals all of it, and this is where, well, Issei says, there. This is where Issei gets up, mostly stands up, and just gives her a hand and says, still, I'm just saying males are not all bad, even though there's a lot of scumbags around here. I'm just saying, you can just give at least a bit of chance and stop being kind of so yanderish most of the time, but not the point. This is where, well, mostly Artemis takes his hand, decides to get up. Now, of course, she reverts back to the schoolgirl one, and this is where she was confused, and this is where Issei says, don't know why you reverted back to the schoolgirl thing, but, Issei said, I'm just guessing that you're probably going to go to Kiwa. Yeah, you probably are going to hate that school. I'm just going to say this now. It used to be an all-girls school, but now there's a bunch of males, and there's a bunch of perverts. So, you're probably going to have a slaughter fest, but I'm just saying right now, don't dare try to attack, well, my friends or me, because I'm not really caring too much about the female population. The only reason I'm going to that school is because, well, someone's promised about kind of getting a good education. But other than that, I don't care. That's where, well, we'll see. Issei kind of just says, you can leave by any chance. There's no barrier right now. Mostly, luckily, Alfred managed to put a barrier. This is where Issei said, thank you, Alfred. Thank you for the fact that that's why I love my freaking friend. This is where, well, he doesn't really call Alfred pretty much a butler, but he does kind of like him as a friend a lot. He's mostly like a father figure that he usually never had because mostly his parents did die a while ago, and his grandfather did also die a while ago, but yeah. This is where, well, we'll see Issei started walking away and saying, you can leave other than that, or you can just come with me to kind of get something to eat, since mostly my butler or mostly my best friend kind of already like put some food and something in the dining room, but not the point. This is where Issei is walking away, but yeah. Artemis looks behind Issei in the back of his head, and this is where her face becomes a little reddish, and she's confused why. She shouldn't be feeling emotions towards mostly Issei, since she did have her kind of heartbroken and other things. But this is where, she is kind of shocked to believe that mostly Issei managed to creep into her heart and actually, managed to kind of fix it a little bit and show that not everything is so bad that much. But this is where, she decides to follow along Issei, but yeah, since she does kind of feel hungry also, but yeah. But we go into mostly Alfred kind of saying, "Oh, young master Issei, it seems that you're finally back after your little battle and scuffle with the goddess. So you noticed it was a goddess, and yet you didn't help me at all? Well, how could I help you, master, when it's a goddess? I'm not trying to go against gods neither." Issei sighs and says, "Really? This is where Artemis says, wait, your name isn't Ishiki?" This is where Issei says, "Not entirely. It's Issei, but the only reason why I decided to change it to Ishiki is because I still don't want to trust too much of the supernatural. I don't have a full grasp of the supernatural and decide not to trust it too much. I don't want you to accidentally reveal my name to the supernatural, so I'd rather be called Ishiki for right now, or Momoshiki, I don't care." This is where two ghost spirits are literally flipping off Issei and saying, "You motherfucker," and basically steering on our name, "you son of a bitch." This is where, mostly she nodded and decides to kind of go to the dining room. This is where, Issei is eating and not really looking at her beauty entirely. She narrowed her eyes, but she's actually quite happy because mostly any normal male would be looking at her entirely and probably ignoring the food. She's eating the food and it's quite delicious. She never has eaten this kind of good food. The butler is kind of going to do some cleaning, but yeah, but not the point. This is where, she then says, "So, the person that's kind of her butler, is there any other maids or any of that around the house? This house seems to be quite big for a normal human." Issei said, "Yeah, that is true, but mostly it was somewhat mostly grandfather and grandmother's kind of like house. My grandfather died a while ago. You can see the butler is named Alfred. I do see him as a father figure, but he's the butler, but I do see him as a friend, father figure, and mostly just someone that is mostly looking out for me, since mostly he's also kind of friends with mostly my grandmother. Well, friends with both my grandmother and my grandfather." This is where, mostly Artemis nodded. She never expected to kind of hear a human to say, mostly male humans would be like saying, "Yeah, that's my servant, blah, blah, blah," acting arrogant. But mostly Issei doesn't act too arrogant, and he seems to be humble a lot. This is where, mostly Artemis says, "So, what about your grandmother?" Issei kind of just, mostly drops his fork for a second, but this is where, he stays kind of silent. This is where, Issei says, "She's in the hospital right now. She's right now in a very deep slumber." This is where, Issei puts both of his hands together and just saying, "I've been searching for a while and trying to help her kind of get out of this deep slumber, but it's been a while, and somehow I got into the supernatural and other stuff, but yeah. So that's why I'm trying to keep myself away from the supernatural entirely, and that's why I lied about my name. If I said anything but my actual name, I feel like people from the supernatural would try to target me or try to, especially devils, since they're quite arrogant as hell. Even if they're the male or female, they're quite arrogant as hell, quite entitled for a lot of shit. But not the point. I just didn't want to be revealed to the devils because they would probably try to target me and try to target my family or any of that." That's why, Artemis nodded, saying, "What about your parents? Like your mom and dad?" Issei's face becomes kind of very darkened. This is where, his eyes become so dead and lifeless. Artemis kind of freezes up after seeing that. He says, "Well, they're not in the living no more. I rather not talk about it." Issei kind of just said it, just looked away, looking mostly into the distance, mostly away from her, mostly just looking into the window of being already kind of dark. And this is where, Issei said, "Other than that, I think I'd rather be getting up." Issei finished already eating. This is where, well, he kind of gets up and says, "You can leave or you can stay here. It doesn't matter. Half the rooms are all empty, so yeah. That's not the point here and there." This is where, well, Issei gets up and starts walking away. His eyes, he mostly isn't walking normally. He's walking kind of robotic, kind of thinking too much in his head. Pretty much everything that's related with his family, he's thinking way too much. Kind of frozen up and kind of not really wanting to talk about any of that. This where, well, Artemis kind of, well, wanted to kind of question him a little bit more, but when she gets up, this is where the butler appears. You know, kind of, this is where, well, Alfred kind of begins. You know, talking to the young master about his family life is not the best idea. You could have asked me. But if you would have talked about his parents and even his grandparents, it's quite a terrible idea. The young master becomes robotic and becomes quite depressed, quite distant, and quite, well, not really wanting to talk to anyone. The reason why is a lot of mysterious things about his family. His grandfather died to an illness, but not before teaching him all the things he needed to learn, like fighting and other things. His grandmother also teach him stuff for him to learn, but before going into the coma, or mostly kind of like deep slumber state, which is quite sad. I do miss both of them a lot. But luckily seeing their grandchildren, or mostly grandchild, I love kind of seeing him because it kind of reminds me of both of them. It also makes me quite sad to seeing, well, mostly, well, they're kind of, well, mostly the young master's kind of parents dead. They died during a very incident. Mostly humans would expect it to be a car crash. All humans would expect it to be a car crash. But it's not entirely to be a car crash. It's mostly something that Issei blames himself a lot. He rather not talk about it. He thinks it's all his fault, but it's not really all his entire fault. It's incidents from supernatural entirety, but he blames himself more than anything, ever. That's why he acts kind of robotic and wants to avoid the question every time. I will not really say anything more about what happened exactly about his parents. But I'm just telling you this to avoid the question about talking about his parents, or his mother, his father, his grandmother, mostly grandfather. Just saying, until his grandmother wakes up, he might be able to go back to his original self. Before becoming, well, nothing but a training madness. Well, mostly trying to always get stronger. You probably noticed that he trains a lot. And you probably also got told about the 8 gates of death. Yes, the 8 gates of death are quite deadly. Something that should be forbidden half the time. But he doesn't care. He pushes his body so further, so much. Just to be able to use the 8 gates of death. He doesn't love using magic. He doesn't like using magic to go and push people away. He uses sometimes, but not much of the time. He's not very good with magic. Chakra and other stuff, he's good at it. But he'd rather be a martial artist user. Just like his grandfather. His grandfather was basically a martial artist kind of fighter. At the same time, he was also a war veteran. So of course, mostly he wants to be as tactical and also quite good at fighting in hand-to-hand combat. Mostly he was pushing himself way too far. He blames himself too much. But that's not for me to tell you any more further. Well, I should be cleaning up then. If you're done, you can leave. So I'm just telling you. This worked well. Mostly Artemis kind of narrowed her eyes. She kind of felt a little bit saddened about what mostly the pain of Issei is going through. She doesn't know much, but mostly there's quite a lot of darkness around his heart. There's quite a lot. There's a little bit of a fragment, but there's quite more than a lot of darkness around his heart. She decides to, decides to kind of go home. Mostly go towards a place that she was supposed to visit and not get sidetracked. But yeah, mostly it was kind of the afternoon from a school day. But yeah, that's what kind of happened. So mostly this day it was kind of afternoon of school day. Or he kind of just ditched the day, but not the point. Well, this is where, Artemis decides to leave, and this is where, Issei is now in his room. This is where, Issei is staring at the floor, and right now kind of thinking. This is where, the two spirits that are right now within his body, mostly the two karma seals, has not actually spoken. and hasn't said anything. Issei said. He then kind of says his grandma's name, Chill. Grandma Chill, don't worry, I will get you something to wake you up from the slumber. I promise. This is where Issei does promise to himself all the time. This is where, well, we go into mostly a time skip. Mostly a couple days later, of course, this is where Artemis does enroll into, well, what's it called? Kuwa Academy, just to keep an eye on a kind of reddish hair with brownish, kind of like reddish slash brunette kind of hair girl, and of course with reddish eyes, and none other than, what's it called? It's none other than Kaede, and this is where, well, Kaede is kind of saying, you don't really need to look after me, Mrs. Don't call me Mrs. Call me Artemis, or not Artemis, this is where Artemis is trying to think of a name, just so it wouldn't connect her to the being in the supernatural, and decides to just say, call me Cylinder. This is where, well, mostly, Kaede says, yeah, Cylinder, you don't really need to keep an eye on me half the time in the school. This is where Cylinder says, I mean, I'm keeping an eye on you so no perverts decide to go after you. I swear to God, if any males decide to try to touch you, or any perverts, I will beat them to the freaking realm of where Hades will be at. This is where, well, mostly, Kaiden kind of switch up, but yeah. Kaiden been looking, or trying to look for Issei in the kind of school for a while, but yes, since he ditches most of the time and doesn't really care about his education too much, he's been kind of distance away. This is where, well, mostly, also, Artemis has been looking for him also. She sends him also, but he usually jumps out the school and kind of comes back with some food. And yeah, you get the point. This is where, well, not the point. Now, of course, mostly Artemis has also met mostly Matsui and Murahama. Now, Murahama is a pervert, while Matsui doesn't seem to be entirely a pervert. He doesn't really have that whole lustful energy around him, unless, well, unlike Murahama. But not the point here or there. Now, Murahama's pervert kind of tendencies started kind of going down for a while. But that's not the point here or there. Now, this is where a new student actually appears in Kuo. A guy with kind of having blackish and yet blondish hair, kind of goldenish hair. Of course, he has kind of like these yellowish eyes, and this is where, well, he does have like this tiger kind of symbol around his neck, and this is where, well, he then walks into Kuo and saying, so this is Kuo Academy. This is where a bunch of girls are kind of being a bunch of fangirls and kind of just like looking at the new student. He's quite amazing, kind of cute, and other things for girls' opinions. Of course, guys are kind of angry and annoyed. Well, one brunette kind of boy is actually looking at this. He kind of narrows his eyes after seeing mostly the person. He kind of grins a little bit. Mostly someone next to him being that of mostly a guy with no hair and of course having his eyes closed, kind of open one of his eyes, showing to mostly be, well, the color of, well, being kind of black for a second, but yeah, well, not black, they're kind of pitch black a little bit. This is where, well, mostly says, is that Kazutoro? Mostly Issei finished the sentence. It's been a while, Kazutoro. It's really been a while. Issei gets up and says, this is where Matsui says, you're not gonna go fight him, are you? What? No, why would I ever fight him? That's nothing like me. This is where, well, mostly Matsui starts up and says, Issei, I don't think it's a good idea to just straight up start a fight with him. I'm not gonna start a fight with him. Don't worry, Matsui. Do not worry. And this is where Issei managed to push some boys out of his way, mostly some guys. And the guys were wondering what the hell is happening. And it's Issei kind of walking through. And Issei said, yo, Kazutoro, it's been a while. Or mostly he kind of says wait, let me say that again. Issei waves his hand and says, sup, Kazutoro, hand me a. This is where, well, mostly Kazutoro kind of just smirks at mostly seeing Issei and saying, well, hello there, Issei. This is where both of them just kind of like high-five each other. And of course, everyone is just confused and shocked, even the girls. And this is where, well, Artemis and this where Kaden were just winding their eyes because mostly Issei is supposed to like not be in the bright light, mostly be in everyone's sight, but mostly Kazutoro, this new student being named Kazutoro, last name, I forgot his last name now entirely, Hinjima or whatever, not Hinjima, mostly, but not the point, mostly, he seems to be quite friendly with Issei. He does have a smirk on his face appear. This is where Kazutoro says, it's been a while, Issei. This is where Issei says, so, I'm guessing you got out of prison. This is where Issei puts his arm around what's it called, Kazutoro. Kazutoro chuckles and says, No, I got it in prison a while ago. I just decided to go to a school to, get some education. Yeah, I kind of do refuse to believe that shit. This is where Issei kind of just whispers into Kazutora's ear. Kazutora says, oh, fuck you, asshole. This is where Kazutora tries to uppercut Issei, and this is where Issei managed to grab his fist and says, come on, buddy, it's been a while. This is where Kazutora just kind of grins with such an annoyed kind of tick mark appears on his face, and saying, jackass, asshole. Both of them just glaring at each other. This is where, mostly Issei kind of says, but still, it's good to see you. Besides, you do remember Matsui. This is where, mostly Issei kind of presents Matsui and Murahama. This is where, Murahama is kind of scared of mostly Kazutora because Kazutora does have an aura that's quite dangerous towards him. This is where, it's like a predator kind of instinct to kind of run away from Kazutora. Kazutora says, sup there, Matsui, it's been a while. This is where he kind of rushes towards Matsui. This is where he was actually trying to knee him in, knee him in the stomach, but this is where, Matsui managed to block it, says, yeah, it's been a while, asshole. This is where, mostly both of them are kind of glaring at each other, but this is where, mostly Murahama is where drops at mostly both of their antics. And this is where, Issei said, oh, you never did met Murahama here, since he never did go to Tokyo, Shiba City that much. This is where, mostly Kazutora says, huh? Oh, you must be Murahama, sup there. This is where he puts his hand out right in front of, mostly Murahama. Murahama takes it by giving him a handshake, and this is where, he feels his arm being kind of grasped a little bit. And this is where, mostly Kazutora says, ha ha ha. He lets go of him and then just pat him in the back, saying, so, sup there. So, my name is Kazutora, mostly he says the last name. This is where, he does ask mostly Murahama in his full name. Murahama does say his full name, being Murahama. He doesn't really have one in DXC, so I'm gonna just give him a random one, but not the point. I'll probably think of it later, not the point. This is where, mostly Kazutora is chuckling and saying, well, it's been a while to see. Well, I wasn't actually expecting to see, two people from that whole incident in, Tokyo. This is where Issei chuckles and says, Issei kind of chuckles and says, yeah, it's been a really while. But still, I wonder, how the hell did you even get into the school with your records? This is where, mostly Kazutora says, I have no fucking clue. This is where, Issei says, still, with that tattoo, yeah, I wonder how the fuck you got in here. This is where, not Murahama, mostly Matsui says, yeah, that is fucking true. Bruh, this is where, Matsui says, wait a minute, do they actually allow tattoos to be actually on students? This is where, Kazutora says, they probably thought my tattoo was something else, probably just like some kind of being able to erase. This is where, mostly Matsui says, shit, can I actually reveal my tattoo then? This is where, he kind of said. I said then twice, but not the fun. This is where, mostly Kazutora says, I don't know. They really didn't say anything about me. They just said, they gave me the uniform and said, you're coming with us. But yeah, Issei says, this is where Issei kind of comments saying, so what? They basically just kind of took you out of the prison and just FBI tell you to you're coming with us kind of style, or what the hell? This is where, Kazutora says, no, jackass. They just allowed me to go into the school, but not the point. I was just gonna go here in this cool old town to go to one of the smaller kind of high schools that isn't too popular, but they allow me to go to this school, which is confusing, but not the point. Issei says, huh, that's quite interesting. This is where Issei is kind of scratching his neck. This is where a bit of skin kind of peels off, but this is where, Issei says, nope, should probably hide that. This is where Kazutora says, oh, you're still hiding your dragon tattoo. Just noticed that. I thought you somehow removed it. Issei says, no, I still have the dragon tattoo. Just hiding tattoos and other things from people. This is where, Kazutora says, oh, so it's been a while, Issei, and I swear to God, I didn't actually notice who exactly you were until you basically walked up to me with mostly the same eyes that you walked up to me that one time before punching me in the face, jackass. This is where, Issei says, hey, it was well worth it, asshole. This is where, right now Kazutora is kind of glaring, having a tick mark on his face, and of course, kind of putting his face up in front of Issei, kind of saying, who are you calling a jackass? This is where, Issei kind of puts his face right in front of, mostly Kazutora, and says, I'm calling you a jackass. Both of them are glaring at each other, and this is where lightning is kind of crackling right in front of them. This is where, mostly both of them are just kind of looking at each other with angry eyes. This is where Matsui is sweat dropping, and this is where Murahama says, do they always fight like this? This is where Matsui says, alright. since you never did ever go with us towards mostly Tokyo Shiba City, mostly we went to a middle school that one time, and I met mostly Kazutora that one time also, and Issei has met him. Mostly they met each other in a battlefield where both of them were trying to literally kill each other by trying to beat the shit out of each other, but not the point. So well, mostly, what's it called? Murahama sweatshops says really? They're okay. That's interesting. Well, should we do something before they start kind of fighting each other? I would not try to do that because I know one thing: when both of them are literally trying to kill each other, yeah, that's going to happen. This is where, well, mostly Murahama says, should we? This is where, well, Matsui says, should we watch and actually see them both trying to kill each other? Hell yes. This is where, well, right now, well, mostly, what's it called? I don't know how much sweatshots and Matsui's antics, but yeah, that's the thing. Now, this is where every girl in the school is trying to think of, well, the new student kind of already knowing what's it called, Issei, and they're saying, is he a pervert or is he not? This is where, well, people are just going on. Because the rumors are still kind of, well, mostly, there's still rumors, not rumors, mostly the whole attitude against the three perverts are still the same. But, yeah, even if they're kind of acting less perverted, they are acting, they're still the same in multiple people's eyes, but not the point. Some people already know their true conclusion if they're not really perverts, well, except for Motorhammer, but not the point. But this is where a red-haired beauty is actually narrowed her eyes to see, well, what's it called, Kazutora and even what's it called, Issei starting to fight. Yes, both of them decide to start having a brawl-out battle. Now, of course, everyone noticed this, and this is where everyone kind of rushes towards mostly Issei and mostly Kazutora's brawl-out battle because, well, it kind of started when, what's it called, both of them were glaring each other and then sent a punch at each other, clocking both each other in the face, and this is where both of them just started kind of fighting each other. This is where, well, Kazutora sent a powerful kick towards mostly Issei's face, but Issei managed to block and tries to send a powerful kick up towards mostly Kazutora's mostly chin. Mostly Kazutora managed to dodge, and this is where both of them just start having a fucking brawl out. But yeah, this is where everyone is trying to stop them, even some of the guys jumping in and trying to, well, stop Issei and even Kazutora. Now, Kazutora doesn't give a damn, and whoever, like, gets involved, they're dead. And this is where Issei does the same. Both of them are basically acting out of, well, instinct of being, well, mostly back. They're kind of like acting out of instinct of like in a battle back in middle school, but yeah. This is where, well, both of them kind of clock their opponent out pretty easily and says, Kazutora! This is where Issei screams, and this is where Kazutora says, Issei! This is where both of them were about to clock each other in the face, which they do manage to clock each other both in the face, knocking each other out. This is where, well, Matsui is, well, not Matsui, mostly Matsui is chuckling and saying, ha! Wow! Damn, I wasn't expecting both of them to just clock each other out. I was having money on fucking Issei to clock that son of a bitch out. Damn it! I lost! This is where Monohama says, I just had a prediction that mostly that was going to happen. This is where, well, mostly say, I just lost $20. Damn it! This is where, well, mostly everyone's swear dropping at both of the two perverts because they were about to call them the four perverts, but they were confused because both Kazutora and even Issei start just having a brawl out. This is where, well, mostly gets up and saying, move out of the way. This is where, well, mostly decides to grab Issei, and this is where, well, he also gets also Kazutora and kind of just drag them to the hospital, or mostly not hospital, nurse's office, and says, move out of the way, I'm getting them to the nurse's office. Murahama decides to follow along, but yeah, everyone is sweat dropping because the new student just came here, and now he's having a freaking fist fight with none other than Issei. Well, it's a fist fight slash kicking at the same time, but not the point. Other than that, I'm going to leave it off here for part 2. Yes, I was thinking of leaving it off during the whole Artemis battle, but instead I'm going to leave it off here for part 2. Part 3 will be whenever. Now I realize it's been 1 hour and 38 minutes. Yeah, good luck with that. But not the point. Bye, see ya.